You put on a cotton t-shirt this morning without thinking about it. You did not think about where the fiber came from, how it got soft, how it got white, how it got onto your body. You just reached into a drawer. That shirt touched your skin for the next 12 hours, and you forgot it was there within about 4 minutes. Now strip it away. Strip away the drawer, the closet, the store, the factory, the loom, the spinning mill, the cotton gin. Strip away the field. Strip away the seed bred for 1,000 generations to make a longer, whiter fiber than the plant ever produced on its own. What is left is a wild shrub with a bowl of fuzz around its seeds, growing in a hot floodplain, and a human standing next to it with nothing on their back but skin. That is the actual starting condition. Every other version of this story is downstream of that moment. And here is the part that should stop you. Humans in 2 different hemispheres, with no contact with each other, separated by an ocean and roughly 6,000 years of independent history, looked at 2 completely different wild cotton species and made the same decision. That is not one invention, that is 2. The question this video answers is what pressure was strong enough to make 2 unconnected populations solve the same problem, with the same plant genus, using the same idea without ever meeting. Start with the body. Human skin is bare compared to almost every other primate, and bare skin next to intense UV exposure, biting insects, and temperature swings has a cost that is measurable, not poetic. Sustained exposure to tropical and subtropical sun damages skin at a cellular level within hours, not weeks. The margin between protected and damaged in equatorial exposure is a matter of a single afternoon. That is not a comfort problem. That is a maintenance problem for a body that has to survive years, not one that has to survive an afternoon. Here is the twist. Bare skin was not a design flaw humans were stuck with. It was itself an adaptation, and a fairly recent, aggressive one. Research on the evolution of human skin, associated with anthropologist Nina Jablonski, ties the loss of body hair to the need for efficient sweat-based cooling as early hominins became long-distance, daytime foragers on the African savanna. The same evolutionary trade that let your ancestors run down prey in open heat also left them with skin that had almost no built-in defense against that same heat. You inherited the cooling system. You almost never use it for its original job because you live indoors, in shade, in air conditioning. The system is still fully installed. It is just switched off. So the body created the deficit. The first fix for that deficit was not weaving, it was cord. The oldest confirmed piece of fiber technology on Earth is not a woven cloth. It is a twisted cord fragment made from inner tree bark, found at the Neanderthal site of Abri-du-Maras in France, dated to roughly 46,000 years ago, and analyzed by paleoanthropologist Bruce Hardy. That find matters because a twisted cord is not an accident. You cannot randomly bend a plant fiber into a stable twist. It has to be deliberately spun in opposing directions to hold. That is engineering, done by a species most people assume never engineered anything. This is the moment the line moves from wrapping yourself in whatever is lying around to manufacturing a material that did not exist in nature a moment before. The cord alone runs into a hard limit fast. Cord protects a wrist, ties a bundle, lashes a tool head to a shaft. Cord does not shield an entire body from sun and cold for a full lifetime, and bast fiber from bark is coarse, stiff, and does not hold dye or softness the way a finer fiber does. Something better than bark cord was needed, and the record for that next step does not survive as neatly. Cotton fiber is organic. It rots. It almost never fossilizes. So the trail scientists had to follow was not a stack of preserved cloth. It was a set of accidents and a lot of genetics. The first accident happened in Balochistan, in what is now Pakistan, at a site called Mayagar. In the 1990s, a French archaeological mission excavating a Neolithic burial, they found 8 copper beads resting near an adult male's wrist. When the beads were split open for analysis, tiny mineralized fibers were trapped inside. Textile specialist Christophe Molherat, working with the Centre de Recherche et de Restauration des Musées de France, ran the fibers through scanning electron microscopy and confirmed it. Cotton. spun into thread, dated to around 5500 BCE, roughly 7,000 years old, and the oldest confirmed cotton fiber use anywhere in the Old World. Nobody was decorating themselves for status when that thread was spun. They were solving the same skin problem the body had created tens of thousands of years earlier, this time with a softer, finer, more insulating fiber than bark cord ever gave them. Then the genetics forced a second, much stranger conclusion. Cotton belongs to a genus called Gossypium, and it comes in two very different chromosomal builds. The species domesticated in South Asia and Africa are diploid, one set of chromosomes from each parent, an old lineage native to the Old World. But the cotton growing on the north coast of Peru, Gossypium barbadense, is tetraploid. It carries a double genome that only exists in the Americas. Geneticist Jonathan Wendell's work on Gossypium evolution traces that doubling back to a single ancient hybridization event, isolating the American lineage from the Old World lineage for well over 1 million years before any human ever touched either plant. Two populations on two continents, working with two genetically incompatible cartons that had been separated since before modern humans existed, independently arrived at the exact same solution: spin it, thread it, wear it. Archaeological work at Huaca Prieta on Peru's north coast, led by Tom Dillehay of Vanderbilt University, dates domesticated Gossypium barbadense cultivation there to roughly 7,800 years ago, startlingly close in time to Meagar, on the opposite side of the planet, with zero contact between the two groups. And it was not decorative. Analysis led by textile specialist Jeffrey Splitstozer identified indigo dye on 6,000-year-old cotton fabric fragments from the same site, the oldest confirmed use of indigo blue anywhere in the world, older than Egypt's by roughly 1,500 years. Your ancestors were not just weaving, they were dyeing, patterning, and building a material culture around fiber before either group had built a city. That same instinct is still alive, unbroken, in living communities today. Anthropologists working with Andean weaving traditions in the highlands of Peru and Bolivia have documented backstrap loom weavers who still hand-spin cotton and wool using a drop spindle technique passed down through direct, unbroken instruction from mother to daughter, generation after generation, with almost no change in the core mechanics since Huaca Prieta. Your ancestors were doing something cruder earlier, with worse tools and no written record. Same fiber, same twist, same problem being solved by the same species 7,000 years apart. Picture the Cache Plain near Meagar, around 5500 BCE. Midday heat presses down on a cluster of mud brick houses. A small group sits in whatever shade the walls give, twisting raw cotton fiber between their fingers, feeding it onto a spindle that spins itself heavy with thread. No one here has ever seen a loom the way a later Bronze Age weaver would understand one. What they have is a plant, a twist, and thousands of years of accumulated, inherited knowledge about what fiber can be made to do to a human body. A child sits close enough to watch the spindle turn. That single decision, to turn raw fiber into thread instead of leaving it as fiber, did something beyond keeping skin covered. Producing spun cotton and woven cloth takes sustained time. Growing the plant, harvesting it, cleaning it, spinning it, weaving it. Researchers studying the transition at Huaca Prieta describe this as a shift from an immediate return economy, where people eat what they gather the same day, to a delayed return economy, where people invest labor now for a payoff weeks or months later. That shift is one of the proposed triggers for larger, more settled, more socially complex communities on the Pacific coast, because planning for a harvest months away requires trust, coordination, and shared obligation between people who are not going to see the benefit today. The instinct in you that plans ahead, that saves, that commits to a slow project because you trust it will pay off later. That instinct has a plausible root in exactly this kind of fiber economy, 7,000 years back. You put on that shirt this morning and forgot about it in under 5 minutes, but your body still carries the deficit that made clothing necessary in the first place, the sweat cooling system with no natural shield built in. Somewhere in a fold of unconscious memory, your species still knows what a twist of fiber does for a body that has none of its own. Picture the catcher playing again, the mud brick wall, the shade, the spindle turning in someone's hands while a child watches close enough to learn. If you want more of the ancient decisions that quietly built the version of you sitting here right now, this channel exists for exactly that. Stick around.